Hey guys, welcome to They Said We Said. OrzhovDunn here, bringing you another deck tech. This time we're going back to Modern, and I'm super excited about this one because this is the one that I bring to all the real competitive tournaments I ever get to go to, which is not a lot anymore at the moment, but you know, I'm trying to move some stuff around in my life to make that happen. This is Naya Allies. It's not a budget deck by any stretch of the imagination. But it is cheaper than most modern decks right now. So it ranges high 600s to like 700s, depending. Some of these cards are fluctuating in prices. With 4 of the cards that I'll show you in the deck that are taking up probably more than half of or at least more than a quarter of the price of this deck. So you could definitely take some stuff out, make it more budget, but this is just what I played with this deck for over a year now. This is the most optimal in my opinion. I used to, I'll tell you kind of some of the changes I've made to it as we get into the deck. Starting with the land base. Of course, we're running allies, so we're running a 4 of ally encampment. Then we have, this is what's taking up most of the price of the deck, the Cavern of Souls. These are running, I think last time I checked, around $55 to $60. They kind of hang around, but they're just so key to this deck. I was running a play set of Aether Vials instead, and I didn't have these, but it just seems like this is where you want to be at, especially running Collected Company. You want to make sure that you're hitting Collected Company on time. And if you're running the more budget-friendly build with Ancient Ziggurat, you're just not getting there in time. So I kind of bit the bullet, and I got the playset of Cavern of Souls. It's just so important. And of course, Cavern of Souls reads, when it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Obviously, you're choosing allies. And then you get to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, and that spell can't be countered. Okay, next up, we're running a couple fetch lands. We're running a play set of the Windswept Heaths. Red and green, this is a Naya build for sure. Green and white are definitely probably the most important and prominent colors in the deck. There is some double whites in here, so you want to make sure that you're getting your red and white often and on time and consistently. So next we're running the 2 of Windswept Heaths. Okay, and now we're going to the Shocklands. We're running a 1 of the Naya Shocklands. So we got 1 Temple Garden, 1 Sacred Foundry, and 1 Stomping Ground. And it's great because Windswept Heath will get all 3 of them. Wooded Foothills, also this, you never really have a problem getting your colors with mana. And we're running, just to kind of smooth it out, we're running a 1 of City of Brass. We're such a fast-paced aggro deck, we don't really care that we're losing a life for gaining the land we need. And then 2 of Plains, and then the 1 of Forest. So that's our land base. Like I said, that's what's making up most of the price of the bill for this deck, is those 4 of Cavern of Souls. The Shocklands and the Fetch lands, the ones that we're running aren't actually that bad. So if you do want to start out with this deck and you do want to run it with the 4 Ancient Ziggurats instead of the 4 Cavern of Souls, it cuts off at least like $260, I believe. So we're going to go to the bulk of the deck. So here we go. We're running a lot of allies. If you guys want to play, if you guys are of age and, 21 or older, I only support responsible drinking. If you guys want to play a drinking game, take a drink if you're with a couple buddies, take a drink every time I say allies. You'll be pretty nice and feeling good by the end of this deck. So we have a 4 of Hada Freeblade. This thing is an all-star. If you could drop this on turn 1 consistently every time, I'll usually never mulligan a hand away with the Hada Freeblade in it because it just starts the engine going. This 1 for an 0-1, every time it comes into play, so it already comes down as a 1-2, and then all the rest of that, once you start dropping allies and allies and allies, this thing grows to, I've seen 7, 8, 8, 7, or 8, 9. It's insane how fast this little guy grows. So, all-star hands start with Hada Freeblades. Great blocker with first strike. This thing is a complete beast, probably the most powerful creature by itself. And I say by itself because in my opinion, this creature is the most powerful creature in the deck. So this is the Acomb Battle Singer. So she costs 1 and 1 red for a 1/1 with haste. Whenever Acomb Battle Singer or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you may have ally creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. This thing is insane. She quickly just like every turn basically. If you have this girl out, it's like you're having a mini overrun, especially or at least you hit 1 and something else off a collected company. She triggers herself. She triggers when other allies come down. And then, like I said, the Dream Scenario, you drop 2 of these on 1 turn. It just gets way out of hand really fast. If you have at least 1 or 2 of these, we can win by as early as turn 4 and get them down to like 5 by turn 3. These guys are insane. So if you're playing against this deck, this is the first. If your opponent drops 1 of these, this is the first thing you want to wipe out. It's very high priority. Then we kind of have a space filler. It's the Orin Reef Survivalist, and he's just basically our bear. He is 1 and 1 green, 1/1, and then he gets the counter when he comes down, so he's a 2/2, and then plus grows when you play more allies. Okay, and next on the 2-drop list, we have the Hairbraz Druid, and this is another reason why I took out Aether Vial, because these guys are insane, plus you get ally triggers. So it's 1 and 1 green for an 0/1. You tap it, add X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of allies you control. So as you can imagine, you're dropping a ton of allies. They're all super cheap, and then this guy, can make 4, 5, 7 mana sometimes. So this is really kind of our Aether Vial of the deck. Plus it drops and it gets ally triggers. So it's amazing early. It's amazing late. Off a collected company, you're never sad to see it. So Hairbraz Druid is a 4 of. And that is our 2 drops. So we're going to our 3 drops now. And we're going to kick this off with a huge one with the Kabira Evangel. And that's 2 and 1 white for a 2/3. Whenever the Evangel or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you may choose a color. If you do, allies you control gain protection from the chosen color until end of turn. So this is amazing against burn decks, mono black control decks. Basically, I was running a really tuned 8-rack deck for a while, or actually in a black-white tokens deck for a long time. So once you drop the Kabira Evangel, it's just too much. If they're too saturated on one color, there's really nothing they could do after you drop one of these, because your whole team just gets protection of one color. It's insane. So this is an all-star, definitely a playset. Okay, next we have the Lantern Scout, and this is a 2 of. We're running, so that's 2 and 1 white. That's a 3/2. This one has Rally, so Rally is just the keyword that they added with Battle for Zendikar, but basically the same thing as all our allies do. Whenever it or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, your whole team gets lifelink, which is a huge upside, especially if you're going against burn or other aggro. This is the guy that keeps you in the game. So again, we're running 2 of the Scout. Next, we're running a 1 of Fire Mantle Mage. This thing is more of an all-star than I thought it would be, especially against Affinity or any colorless, colorless Eldrazi, anything like that. It reads 2 and 1 for a 2/2. Whenever Fire Mantle Mage or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control gain menace until end of turn. So, no more, everything has to be double blocked, and plus you're going so wide that it's really hard to keep up with the blockers, the blocker to attacker ratio when you're attacking as opposed to when they're attacking you, especially when this guy hits the mat. In Affinity matchups, the Evangel will come out because of the colorless, and the Fire Mantle Mage will go in because basically they're kind of interchangeable, but it's nice to have a 1 of these in the main as well. Okay, so that's our creatures, so that's all of our allies. So next we are going to our non-creature spell, and we're running a 4 of Path to Exile. Again, another reason why I'm not doing Aether Vial, because I felt it was important to have main deck answers, main deck removal for, against Boggles or Infect or anything like that. You want to make sure you have some kind of answers for creatures. So Path to Exile is great. So I have a cool story about this one right here. I know it's the promo, but I actually got this when I was playing in a modern tournament, and it was myself against this guy. I forget his name, but we had a grueling match. He was playing Naya Allies, and I was playing that 8-rack deck, and it literally went for almost, I want to say, an hour, almost 2 hours long, and it was grueling, and it was all due to the top deck. And you know what? He wound up getting it, and it was a winner take all. It was a win a box as well. So I felt a little bummed because I missed out on the box. But as I was walking out, he came over to me and he said, "Hey, that was the best match of my life, and I can't let you leave without something." And he gave me this Path to Exile, and I thought that was really classy. I thought it was amazing. You know, we just went to war, and it was just a really nice sign of respect that he did that. So I will never get rid of this Path to Exile. And of course, the last card of the deck is the 4 of Collected Company. You know, this is the whole inspiration of getting this playmat, so I could run this deck with this playmat, you know, just because I'm weird and everything has to match. But, you know, Collected Company in the deck, best card in the deck. This is what makes this deck flirt with being, you know, top tier 2, tier 1 tournament deck. Is because, you know, you have all these allies out, and Collected Company is just a huge backbreaker. And like I said, it was so important to have these come out on time, the Collected Companies, and that was the whole reason why I decided to, you know, bite the bullet and get the 4 of Cavernous Souls, because I needed to be able to cast Collected Companies on time. So that is the main deck of Naya Allies, and usually, you know me, I don't really show sideboards, but this time I am. So I'm going to show you the sideboard as well. Okay, so now we have a sideboard. First off, we're going to do the Spellskite. Usually I go back and forth with Spellskite in this deck. Sometimes I run 2, sometimes I run 1. Right now I'm going towards the 1 build. So sideboards to me, I don't tend to showcase them all that often, even though they're very important. Probably most important in Modern, but I don't like to show sideboards a lot because sideboards are so local meta game dependent. So, you know, if you're playing against a lot of affinity locally, then of course you're going to cram in all the artifact hate. If you're playing against a lot of burn, then you're going to do, you know, stuff, you know, life gain and whatnot. It all depends on what your local metagame is. You know, these decks that I've been showing they're not like Pro Tour decks, so I'm not just going to give you like, oh, this is the end-all be-all sideboard options for this build, because it's not true. Sideboards are very dependent on your local meta, so that's why I don't tend to show sideboards on this channel, but in this case I am. And like I said, this is just right now, so you know, if my meta changes locally, I might make some adjustments. So as of right now, 1 of Spellskite, I have a 1 of Ancient Grudge, because Affinity is becoming more prominent in my local meta, so that's just something to counteract that. 2 of Rest in Peace for all that dredge going around right now. Again, sometimes I've ran 3. Right now I'm happy with running 2. Kataki Wars Mage. It's a body and it's more artifact hate, you know, for those affinity matches. Also 3 of Stony Silence. Like I said, affinity is a really hard matchup, so I want to make sure that I am prepared with Ancient Grudge, Kataki, and Stony Silence. It's that much of it's not 100% we're going to lose the matchup, but we need all the help we could get against affinity because they are pretty much just as fast, if not a little quicker than we are. So we want to make sure that we have stuff to provide speed bumps for that. Then we have the 2 of Ondu Clerics. That is for burn matchups. So he is another ally. He reads 2 for a 1/1. Whenever he or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain life equal to the number of allies you control. So he is huge life swings. If you could get those out. So they really help against burn. And then this is going to be a very controversial inclusion in the sideboard, but again, right now there is a huge influx of Jund and 8-rack and a lot of discarding decks, so I am running the full 4 of Loxodon Smiters, because once you drop a Loxodon Smiter against 8-rack deck when they're trying to make you, discard or whatever, it is extremely hard to overcome that 4/4 body. 8-rack decks, having played them for a while, You know, they have the dismembers, which could kind of help, but if you have this and somewhat of artifact disruption, you know, to turn off their ensnaring bridges if that's the road that they're going to go through, these are very, very hard cards to overcome. So Loxodon Smiters for me are extremely vital in my local metagame right now. So that's it, guys. That is the sideboard. That is the main deck. Tell me what you guys think. I am super excited about this deck. I love this deck so much. It's very easy to pick up. You know, sometimes some of the math is kind of crazy with those Akun Battle Singers, so that could get kind of, you know, it's kind of a learning curve with those. But besides that, it is a straightforward, fast-paced, beat your face in kind of deck, and it's a blast to play. So, guys, please let me know in the comments below what you think. This is OrzhovDunn, signing off. We'll see you next time. Guys, I want to take a quick minute to let you know that our partnership with the Card Bazaar is still running strong. Click the link on the video. Go support these guys, Coach, Goose, Zane. They make really informative historical Magic videos. My favorite is the Card Anthology series. They just did one on the Dark. They do other games as well. Please go check these guys out and support them.